I always felt like I was the black sheep of the family. I was always different from my sisters. But what is going to happen if I go to them and I tell them that I'm going to go do my own thing? And so I admire Janet because she went and she did her own thing. At the age of 19, she broke free. I didn't do that. I wanted to do that, but it took me years to do that. It took me years of going through a lot of heartbreak before I finally make the decision, a lot of heartbreak and still being controlled as an adult, that before I finally make a decision to break free and control my own life. Are you a successful woman in leadership who's feeling unfulfilled in her career? Lately, you've been feeling disconnected and empty, and your job has you burnt out, stressed, and feeling uninspired. And you want more out of life, but you feel stuck and not sure how you should be making a bigger impact on the world. Well, I got a free gift for you. Go to queensformation.com/free gift and sign up for the free case study training where I give you the 4 steps you need to take to get in a position to have the power, confidence, and clarity to manifest your dreams, walk in purpose, and live a fulfilled life. Sign up today. Welcome to another episode of Becoming with Angelina Watkins, where we are turning dreamers into believers and doers. Having open, candid conversations where we are talking about how we've overcome adversity to reach a level of success and live life on our terms. And so we're here to give you a fresh perspective in the blueprint to win at love, life, and money. I'm your host, Angelina Watkins, and if this is your first time tuning in, I just want to give you a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today's episode is about control. I have to talk about the documentary on Janet Jackson because how convenient, how coincidental, how ironic was that this documentary would come out just only a couple of weeks after I did my episode called Excommunicated. So I want to get into that just a little bit because in the episode a couple of weeks ago that I did about being excommunicated, I talked about being controlled. I talked about growing up in a childhood where I was controlled, my life was controlled, and I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do and enjoy my childhood as I would want. And so I'm just going to dive right in. All right. I just want to talk about it because I watched the documentary. I've always loved Janet. And now I realize why I have always loved Janet. So I'm watching this documentary and I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. This is interesting to kind of learn about her and what she was going through. But when we got to part 2, where at the age of 19, she went and made the album Control. Oh, that's when the nostalgia came back to me, you all. That's when I got the epiphany and the realization of what impacted my life and why, I wanted to break free. And so I want to just say, I've always talked about the fact that your past impacts your present. And sometimes we've got to go back to the past, no matter how painful it is, in order to realize some things about ourselves to be able to change those things. But there's things in our past that were actually positive, and we still need, and we may not even realize or know the impact of the positive things. In Janet Jackson's album Control, specifically that song Control, was very impactful to my life. Okay, just when you listen to the lyrics alone, and when the album came out, I was in like the 6th or 7th grade, but I was already in a position, or my life was already in a place where I was being controlled. And so I related to her song so much, but then to hear the story that led up to her creating the song was like, wow. And so I took some notes. Y'all know I gotta have notes, because if I don't take notes before I make these podcasts, then I might forget my thoughts. But there were some things that she said that I jotted down that really resonated with me, because someone asked her, why did she do the documentary? Why did she want to do the documentary? And she said, it needed to be done. And so my thing was, she needed to tell her story. That's something that I say to you all the time. Um, you got to tell your story. Tell your story before somebody else tells your story. Tell your story so that you can tell it from your perspective, not somebody else's perspective. You tell your story so that people don't get the opportunity to use your past against you, because that's what people like to do. They want to make up stuff. They want to add things. They want to take away. They want to make themselves look good and you look bad. And they want to twist the truth around to the point where it sounds too good to, it sounds so good that it has to be true. And it's not. And then you don't even, and even if you try to come defend yourself, people like to believe lies. So, this podcast was created to be able to allow people to tell their truths, allow me to tell my truths, to tell my story, not just to get it out for healing, but to also be able to share with others that may have gone through what I've gone through, so that they can understand that they're not alone and that they can do something about it. They don't have to stay where they are. There is better, but they just got to put in the work to be better. So I wanted to be that light. I wanted to be that example of, you can go through some things, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to let your past define who you are and define how you live and how you think and where your future is going to be. And so you have to be able to tell your story. So she also says, my parents wanted a good life for me and my sisters and brothers. Now, I'm not going to doubt, absolutely not at all, that my parents wanted a good life for me. I know for a fact my parents were good parents. No matter how controlling I thought they were, my parents were good parents to me. And they wanted the best for me. And I had a good childhood growing up, even though I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do. I was not abused. I was not cussed out. I had nice clothes to wear. We ate good. We ate so good that the other children wanted to come over to our house because we had the good snacks and the good cereal. Okay, so we ate good. Our house was nice. We lived in a nice neighborhood. Now, we didn't live in the suburbs, but we lived in a nice neighborhood. Did my parents struggle sometimes? Probably. I don't really know. But for me, I didn't see a struggle. So if they struggled, they hid it very well. I didn't see a struggle. I grew up in a nice middle class neighborhood and household. So but there was still dysfunction. We can't get around that. There was still dysfunction, and there was still things that impacted me becoming the person that I was, that I had to unbecome so that I could live out my purpose that God has assigned me. So anyway, my parents were good parents, but as her parents, parents have a vision for you that may not be the vision you have for you, which may not even be the vision that God has for you. So we got three visions going on here, y'all. We got the parents' visions, we got the child's vision, and we got God's vision. Right? Now, eventually, if all goes right, God's vision is going to trump everybody's vision. But to get to God's vision, that child's vision has to come to in some type of fruition or manifestation. They have to somehow be able to think and do things on their own, because if they don't, then you're going to keep living out your parents' vision. And how are you going to get to God's vision? And I think that was kind of my case. I really don't know totally what my parents' vision for my life was, but I'm pretty sure that not leaving the church was one of them, right? To grow up as a sanctified, holy, saved, Holy Ghost filled young lady who would not have sex before marriage, who would get married and have children, and her and her husband would have jobs, and they would, white picket fence, and I would live the same life my parents lived. But that wasn't my dream. That wasn't my vision. And so at an early age, I always would tell myself, I'd lay in the bed at night with insomnia, daydreaming, thinking, and I would always be saying, there's got to be more to this. There's got to be more to this. I had already reached a point where I was a little bored with the routine and the monotony of the life that we were living, of going to church, going to school, go to church, go to school, go to church, go to school. Everything revolved around church. And I wasn't being able to experienced some things, and I kept telling myself, there's gotta be more to life than this, right? And I just wanted more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to experience more. I was just that type of person. And so not being able to do that because someone else has a vision of what they want you to do, how they want you to do it, when they want you to do it, and with who and where, it becomes very difficult. Now, I will say, Janet Jackson comes out with her song Control, and even to this day, I just absolutely love that song. Like, that is my song. And so when you go back and listen to the lyrics, it's just, they're so befitting of the way I was feeling, of that person that I was describing right now, and in that excommunicated episode where she just talks about wanting to be in control of your life. She says, I got my own life. I want to make my own decisions. That's me, y'all. I just wanted to live my life. I wanted to make my own decisions. And what I admire so much about Janet in this documentary, that I have so much respect for her, is the fact that at some point, when she gets of age, at the age of 19, she decides, I'm going to take control of my life. Now, I know that had to be a hard conversation to go to her dad and say, you know what? I'm going to make another album, but I'm going to make it without you. I'm going to make it without you being my manager. I've got to do this on my own, and I've got to make my own decisions. I know that was a hard conversation. And so for me, it would have been a hard conversation. And I was afraid to have that conversation with my father, with my mother, with my pastor, with anyone. I was so afraid to break free, because of what they may say about me. Or would they shun me? Would they, I don't know. I always felt like I was the black sheep of the family. I was always different from my sisters. But what is going to happen if I go to them and I tell them that I'm going to go do my own thing? And so I admire Janet because she went and she did her own thing. At the age of 19, she broke free. I didn't do that. I wanted to do that, but it took me years to do that. It took me years of going through a lot of heartbreak before I finally make the decision, a lot of heartbreak and still being controlled as an adult, that before I finally make a decision to break free and control my own life. And so I'm just kind of, I admire Janet for that. I admire her for standing up for herself and taking control of her life to make her own decisions. And I know one of the things she did before she made the Control album, I think, was that to break free, her thing was she wanted to just get married. She thought being married would give her the freedom that she needed to be an adult and not be controlled. Me, on the other hand, I thought having a baby was going to give me the control and the freedom I wanted for my life. I had plans, y'all. I had already mapped out that as soon as I graduate, even though I was 17 years old when I graduated, I was going to go get my own place. There were these high rises out not far from the University of Minnesota, and they were subsidy. I went to look at those apartments, apply for those apartments. I'm like, so they'll go by your income? Not really realizing at the time what subsidy meant. I don't even know that, thinking about knowing what it is now, that I would have qualified for subsidy because I didn't have no child or anything. But I'm just thinking, I don't make that much money. They'll go by my income. I can get this apartment and I can finally be on my own. But I know I kept thinking, and I kept wanting to, at a young age, just have a baby. It wasn't even about having the man and getting married and having the family. I just wanted the child, because I felt like if I had the child, then I am now an adult. And you can't tell me what to do now because I have a baby. I have someone to take care of. What you going to tell me? I'm taking care of a child, and you still want to tell me what to do? In my mind, can't do that no more. And so, foolish thinking, y'all, if there's any young folks watching this, don't do that. Don't go out and have no baby to try to be grown, because that's not how it's going to work. That's not how it works. But that's what I thought. I thought that, that I could be have this baby, it'll make me grown, and then nobody can tell me what to do. So that was foolish thinking. Thank God that that didn't happen. Thank God I didn't have a child at that young of age, because it would have really, really been a struggle. But we find ourselves in situations in which we have irrational thoughts and make irrational decisions trying to fix a problem. She got married to fix a problem. Marriage was not going to fix that problem, because now she just put herself into another problem. I was trying to fix the problem. Having a child was not going to fix the problem. It would have just made things even worse for me at that age and at that time. Not having an education, not really having a making any decent money to even take care of myself, and now I'm going to have a child. So that wasn't going to work either. And so sometimes we got to know that we're in some tough situations, and when we're in these tough situations, we sometimes make bad decisions that make things even worse when we're trying to run. When we're trying to run, she was running. Janet was running. I was running. And so she said that there's something inside of her that she doesn't know why she's attracted to men who do drugs. And I have to say, I don't really think, Janet, that's what it is. I don't really think that it's you being attracted to the drugs as much as it is that you are running from being controlled, and now what you're attracting is people that you can now help, like you've been taken care of, and you've been had needed the help, so they thought you, but you don't want to be controlled, so now you're finding people that you can now control. Because think about the fact that she's out there in the streets driving around at night looking for him. She's trying to help him. She's trying to help him get his life together. And that's part of being controlling. And so again, what we experience, we then turn around and put that and display that and interject that. I don't know. I know I'm not using the right word, but we put it off on other people with our actions because we have not yet healed. So I don't necessarily think that she just wanted a man with drugs, as much as when we're trying to fill that hole in our heart, we attract the things that we are looking for to fill the hole in the heart, which is not always the right thing to fill the hole in the heart, because we have to realize we have to fill our own hole in our heart, that we've got that love we're looking for, that appreciation, wanting to be wanted. All of that has to come from within. That happiness that we're looking for, it comes from within, and it comes from when you find you and when you find your purpose. Now, I done rambled a little bit, bear with me you all, but let me just say this. She broke away. And I had said there's three visions. There's the parent's vision, the child's vision, and God's vision. And for me, I had told you earlier that I had to break away from the parent's vision in order to find God's vision. And so what happened was, with me breaking away from how I was raised and where I came from, and that environment, I then started to go through some things and have some things happen that would end up shaping and molding me and pushing me into purpose. Pain can be turned into purpose. Your pain is something that you're supposed to take, learn from it, and turn it into good. And when you turn it into good, you turn it into purpose. And what I did was I turned my pain into purpose, which ends up becoming God's vision for my life, what God wanted me to do, what my assignment was. And when we wonder why we go through the things that we have to go through, is so that we can reach back and help someone else. Janet went through what she went through so that she can make that song Control, so that she can reach out to some other people. As she said in her documentary, there's got to be some other people that's feeling the way I'm feeling. Yes, Janet, we were feeling the way you were feeling. And so now she makes this song, and we're like, yes, that's how I feel, and I want to be in control, and I want to make my own decisions for my life. And then you just have some who heard the song and they made a change and they went for it like she did at 19. And then you have some like me who kind of linger around because they don't know if they should do this or not, because they don't want to be, the black sheep, and they don't want to be the outcast of the family, and they don't want to, I didn't want to make my parents look bad. I don't want to make my parents look bad. They're ministers in the church. What does that look like? The preacher's kid is not in the church anymore. I don't want to, put a stain on the family name. But eventually I would have to make a name for myself. I wanted my own identity of who is Angelina Cheers now Watkins. But I had to break free. And I had to break free, not just for me, but I had to break free so that I could find my purpose. I had to break free so I could fulfill the vision that God has for my life. And I had to break free so that I could be able to reach back and help those coming up behind me that are struggling to make those decisions, that are struggling to break free, that are struggling to do their thing and be in control of their lives. And that's why I'm here. That is why I'm here. To let you know that you can be in control of your life. You can make your own decisions. You can find purpose. You can be happy. And you don't have to run to the streets, run to the drugs, run to the sex, run to some man's bed. You don't have to run to those things to have it. That's my note. That's my talk for today. Okay? You don't have to do self-sabotaging and destructive behaviors in order to break free, get control of your life, and be happy. Just know that you don't have to. And that's why I'm here, to help you heal, turn your dreams into reality, give you a fresh perspective and the blueprint so you can win at love, life, and money. Okay? Now, where you are is not where you have to be. Your past does not define you. You define you. So heal, transform, and pursue you.